Brits tremble in emotion. Prince Harry urges the nation not to forget veterans once the uniform comes off. Sussex update of November 2025. Global royal news. Britain stood still this week as Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, released a powerful Remembrance Day essay titled The Bond, the Banter, the Bravery, What It Means to be British. In heartfelt words that rippled across the United Kingdom and far beyond, the prince, once known for his military courage and unshakable humanity, once again reminded the world what true service, empathy, and British spirit really mean. It was not just an essay. It was a heartbeat. It was Prince Harry's soul speaking directly to every veteran, every grieving family, and every child who still sets an extra plate at the table for the hero who never came home. The heart of a soldier who never forgot. In my capacity as their global ambassador, Harry wrote, "This week, I wrote to families from Scotty's Little Soldiers, the UK charity supporting children of Britain's fallen heroes. I'm moved by their strength." Those lines, quiet yet thunderous, broke through Britain's usual Remembrance Day routine like a bell tolling at dawn. Because Harry wasn't performing, he was remembering. He remembered the faces he served beside in Afghanistan, the mates who didn't come back, the laughter in dusty tents before night patrols, the promises made under desert stars that they'd all go home together. Some did, some didn't, and Harry has never stopped carrying them. "The bond never dies," he wrote. "The bravery never fades. The banter, the laughter we shared in the toughest hours, is what keeps their memory alive. But remembrance must not end when the uniform comes off. A prince of the people, not of palaces." For years, tabloids tried to paint him as the runaway royal, the rebel son, the exile. But in that essay, the truth stood taller than any crown. Prince Harry, the man who swapped palaces for purpose, reminded Britain that honour is not inherited, it's earned. Veterans groups across the UK reacted with tears and gratitude. Social media erupted in admiration. "That's our Harry," one ex-serviceman posted. "He might live across the ocean, but he still carries us in his heart." Another comment went viral. "He may have left the royal firm, but he never left the brotherhood." Even critics went silent for a moment, because there's no denying the authenticity in his words. Harry doesn't speak about service, he embodies it. Britain on its knees, a moment of collective reflection. As dawn broke over London, Manchester, Cardiff and Edinburgh, his essay spread like wildfire. Radio hosts read it on air. Veterans' cafes printed it and pinned it to their walls. Families of fallen soldiers quoted it around dinner tables. And for the first time in years, many Brits felt something rare: unity. His words, "Remembrance isn't confined to one weekend in November. It's a lifelong commitment to empathy, gratitude and action," were replayed across television networks and echoed through classrooms and barracks alike. It was as if the entire country took a collective breath and remembered that remembrance is not about politics or protocol, but people, about the faces behind the medals and the stories behind the silence. Scotty's Little Soldiers, the children who inspired the Duke. In his essay, Harry's mention of Scotty's Little Soldiers carried profound weight. Founded by a grieving mother, the charity supports children who have lost a parent in the British Armed Forces. Harry has been their global ambassador since 2022, but his connection to them runs deeper than titles. Each year, he writes to the children personally. He remembers their names. He speaks with them over video calls. He listens. This week's letter was no different, filled with compassion and humour. "You are the living legacy of courage," he told them. "Your laughter is proof that love outlasts loss." Charity founder Nikki Scott called the essay one of the most moving public tributes ever made to Britain's fallen. She added, "Harry understands because he's lived it. He's not a distant royal face. He's one of us." Global reaction, a prince who still commands hearts. Within hours, international headlines followed. Prince Harry redefines patriotism, The Guardian. The Duke's words bring Britain to tears. BBC News. A modern soldier poet reminds the nation of its soul. The Independent from Canada to Kenya, Australia to South Africa, global readers praised the Duke's blend of empathy and courage. Social platforms flooded with quotes from his essay, with thousands sharing images of poppies alongside his words. Be kinder, more united, and braver in protecting what those before us fought to preserve. In that sentence, Harry had distilled the essence of remembrance, not as a ceremony, but as a way of living. Behind the words, Meghan's quiet support. Though this was Harry's essay, those close to the Sussexes revealed that Meghan, Duchess of Sussex, stood quietly behind him as he wrote, offering encouragement. Every word was from his heart, one source said, but Meghan helped him shape it with compassion and clarity. She knows how deeply his military years shaped who he is. Together, they've built a life defined by service rather than status. And this essay reminded Britain that the Sussexes' departure from royal life was never about rejection. It was about redirection. Veterans speak, he never forgot us. Former Royal Marine Mark Ormrod, a triple amputee and Invictus Games ambassador, posted, Harry's words hit home. The uniform may come off, but the scars, visible and invisible, remain. It means everything that he still carries our stories with him. Invictus athletes shared similar sentiments. We've always known his heart is with the troops, one said. Now the world knows again. At an Edinburgh War Memorial, a group of veterans laid poppies beside a printed copy of his essay. One quietly saluted and said, he may live far away, but he's still our brother in arms. Media shockwaves. Tabloids. Silenced for years, British tabloids thrived on twisting Harry's every move. But this week, their usual cynical columns went quiet. How do you criticise sincerity? How do you attack a man speaking for the forgotten, the wounded, the grieving? Even some of the most notorious outlets found themselves praising him. A moving reminder of what Remembrance truly stands for, one editor admitted. It was as if the prince's words melted through the fog of gossip and reached what tabloids couldn't kill, Britain's collective conscience. Harry, the very man they once mocked, had managed to bring dignity back to Remembrance. A new definition of Britishness. The bond, the banter, the bravery, he wrote. These are the threads that weave us together. Being British is not about where you're born. It's about what you stand for when tested. That line resonated deeply across communities. Immigrants, veterans, and young people alike. It reminded the country that identity is not dictated by titles or borders, but by shared courage and compassion. In a time of division, Harry's message felt like an anchor. He wasn't preaching nationalism, he was celebrating humanity. An anthem of empathy. As night fell, landmarks from the Tower of London to the National Memorial Arboretum glowed red in remembrance. Across social media, a new hashtag emerged. Harry remembers us. Thousands shared stories of their parents and grandparents who served, linking their memories to Harry's essay as if he had given voice to them all. Some said it felt like the first time in years that Remembrance Day truly meant something again. Harry's words broke me, one mother tweeted. My husband died in service. For the first time, I feel seen. The Duke's legacy. Beyond the crown. Harry's Remembrance essay will likely be remembered as one of the defining humanitarian moments of his public life. More than his military service, more than his royal exit, it was this, his heart, his humility, his relentless advocacy for those who serve, that cemented his legacy. He reminded the world that leadership isn't about commanding crowds, but comforting hearts. He showed that you can leave the palace and still carry the flag, and he proved that kindness, not ceremony, is the truest form of patriotism. Final words that stirred a nation. The essay closed with a simple, stirring reflection. Those words were printed on the front pages of British newspapers, broadcast across radio stations, and quoted in Parliament. Even the Prime Minister's office issued a statement praising the Duke's contribution to national unity. A nation remembers and reconnects, from veterans' halls to school classrooms, from bustling cities to quiet villages. Britain echoed with the same sentiment. Prince Harry had rekindled something sacred. Children learned his words in assembly. Soldiers recited them at dawn vigils. Families framed the essay and placed it beside photos of lost loved ones. It was no longer just an essay. It was a moment in history. A moment when a prince reminded a nation that true remembrance is not about hierarchy, but humanity. Conclusion: the heartbeat of a nation. In 2025, when the noise of politics and gossip threatened to drown the spirit of remembrance, one man, once a soldier, always a son, forever a servant of humanity, brought Britain to its knees in humility and gratitude. Prince Harry's essay wasn't a message of division, but a call to unity. It wasn't about what separates the royal from the civilian, it was about what binds them: love, loss, laughter, and legacy. And as poppies fell on silent streets and candles flickered in windows, millions whispered the same thing: "He remembers us. He never forgot." Written with love, admiration, and respect for Prince Harry, Duke of Sussex, a soldier who still serves, a son who still remembers, and a man who taught Britain how to feel again.
Wow, wow, wow. This sounds nice. And from the submission itself, it sounds nice. It sounds very well and well said. And allow me to take this opportunity to thank all my amazing Sussex family for working with us through this juncture from the beginning up to the end. And do not forget to subscribe, like, and put a comment. Bye bye. See you in our next episode.